Let's break down the UK budget and understand why it's such a big deal, not just for politicians and economists, but for every single person living in the country. Think of the UK budget as the nation's annual financial blueprint, a detailed plan that lays out how the government will collect money, where it will come from, and how it will be spent over the next year. It's like a household budget, but on a massive scale, affecting millions of lives. Each year, the Chancellor of the Exchequer stands before Parliament and the nation to announce how much the government expects to collect in taxes and how it plans to allocate those funds. This includes everything from income tax and VAT to corporation tax and fuel duties. But the budget isn't just a stack of paperwork or a dry speech. It directly shapes the taxes you pay, the quality of public services you receive, and even the cost of everyday essentials. Whether you're shopping on the high street, paying your bills, or using the NHS, the budget's decisions ripple through your daily life. The money allocated in the budget funds vital services like the NHS, schools, and infrastructure projects, roads, railways, and more. It determines how much support is available for families, pensioners, and those in need, and it can even influence job opportunities and wages. But the budget's impact doesn't stop at the UK's borders. Investors, businesses, and governments around the world watch closely because the budget is a key signal of the UK's economic health and stability. It can affect the value of the pound, the confidence of international markets, and the country's reputation abroad. A strong, credible budget reassures the world that Britain is managing its finances wisely, encouraging investment and economic growth. On the other hand, a budget seen as risky or irresponsible can trigger uncertainty, market volatility, and even financial turmoil that spreads far beyond Britain's shores. So, the budget is much more than just numbers on a page. It's a statement of intent, a reflection of the government's priorities, values, and vision for the future. It shows whether the UK is living within its means, investing in its people, and preparing for challenges ahead. That's why experts, economists, and financial markets pay such close attention. The budget can shift economies, influence investment decisions, and even change the course of the country's future. It's a moment when the world takes stock of Britain's direction. In short, the UK budget is a pivotal event that sets the tone for the country's future and its place in the global economy. It's a moment of decision that affects us all, shaping the society we live in and the opportunities we have for years to come. Let's talk about the British pound, one of the world's oldest and most iconic currencies. For centuries, the pound sterling has been a symbol of British economic power, resilience, and tradition. But today, it's more than just a piece of paper or metal in your wallet. The pound acts as a barometer of the UK's economic health, reflecting the nation's financial stability, global reputation, and the confidence investors have in Britain's future. Every tick up or down in its value tells a story about what's happening in the country and beyond. On the global currency market, the pound's value is in constant motion. It rises and falls every second, driven by a complex web of factors: supply and demand, investor sentiment, and the ever-shifting tides of international trade. Traders and investors watch these movements closely, as even the smallest change can have ripple effects across the world. For ordinary people, these fluctuations have real-life consequences. When the pound is strong, British tourists find their money goes further abroad, making holidays and imported goods more affordable. It's a boost for anyone planning a trip or shopping for foreign products. But when the pound weakens, the opposite happens. Suddenly, filling up your car or buying the latest gadgets becomes more expensive, as the cost of imports rises. Everyday life gets a little bit pricier, and households feel the pinch. Normally, the pound is highly sensitive to a range of economic signals. It reacts to news about inflation, changes in interest rates set by the Bank of England, and political events like elections or trade deals. Each headline can send the currency up or down, reflecting the market's collective judgment. But recently, something strange has happened. Analysts at Bank of America and other major institutions have noticed that the pound has barely budged, even as headlines swirl and data pours in. It's as if the usual rules no longer apply. The currency seems frozen in place, ignoring all the usual triggers. It's as if the entire market is holding its breath, waiting for a single moment: the UK budget announcement. This is highly unusual. In a healthy market, a currency should respond to a wide range of information, not just one event. The current stillness is a sign of deep uncertainty and anticipation. Right now, the pound is like a currency on a string, tethered and unable to move freely. Investors and traders believe that the upcoming budget will set the course for the UK's economic future, and until then, they're unwilling to make big moves. Until the government reveals its plan, all other news, no matter how dramatic, fades into the background. The market is focused on one thing, and one thing only. The budget is the string holding the pound in place, keeping it from reacting to the world around it. It's a rare moment when a single announcement has the power to move an entire currency. Only when the Chancellor opens that famous red box and reveals the government's plan will the pound be set free, ready to move, rise, or fall once again. Bank of America predicts the British pound will rebound once the UK budget is announced. The pound's been held back, not by a weak economy, but by uncertainty over the government's financial plan. Investors are waiting for a clear answer. Will the budget be credible or not? This suspense has kept the pound in a tight range, with markets bracing for a big move once the news breaks. Bank of America believes that simply ending the uncertainty will boost the pound, as clarity returns to the market. Once the budget is out, the pound can finally reflect the real state of the UK economy. To see why this budget matters, remember the 2022 mini-budget crisis. Back then, the government announced huge tax cuts without a plan to pay for them, spooking investors. The pound crashed, borrowing costs soared, and the Bank of England had to step in. That crisis proved a reckless budget can trigger financial chaos. Now, every budget is scrutinized. Investors want proof of fiscal responsibility. The UK no longer gets the benefit of the doubt. The stakes are higher than ever. Bank of America notes this shift. The government's margin for error is tiny, especially with slow growth. Every number will be checked to avoid repeating past mistakes. This budget is a true make-or-break moment for the pound. What drives a currency's value? It's all about confidence, interest rates, and economic health. Investors buy pounds when they trust the UK's stability and government discipline. Higher interest rates attract global money, making the pound stronger. Strong economic growth and job creation also boost demand for the currency. But if the economy falters or the government racks up debt, confidence collapses, and the pound weakens. The budget is crucial. A plan to control debt reassures investors, while reckless promises do the opposite. Sovereign risk, doubt about the government's ability to repay, can crash a currency. In short, a credible budget builds strength. A careless one invites disaster. That's why the world is watching. You'll hear terms like fiscal rules and fiscal headroom. Here's what they mean. Fiscal rules are self-imposed limits on government borrowing and debt, signaling discipline to investors. Sticking to these rules builds trust. Breaking them is a red flag. Fiscal headroom is the buffer, the extra money the government can spend or use for tax cuts without breaking its own rules. Right now, the UK's headroom is slim, making every budget decision critical. Bank of America's optimism for the pound depends on the government sticking to its rules and ideally growing its headroom. If the Chancellor can show credible forecasts and sensible policies, markets will breathe easier. More headroom means more flexibility and confidence in the UK's finances. That's what could give the pound a real boost. Imagine two budget paths, responsible and populist. In the responsible budget, the Chancellor makes tough choices, controls spending, and sticks to fiscal rules. It may seem boring, but markets love it. Confidence rises, the pound strengthens, and borrowing costs fall. In the populist budget, the Chancellor announces big tax cuts and spending without a credible plan. It's popular at first, but investors see through it. Confidence collapses, the pound crashes, and borrowing costs soar. The 2022 crisis showed how quickly things can unravel. The lesson? Responsible choices today set the course for years to come. One day's decisions can make or break a country's financial future. That's why the budget matters so much. The world is watching which path the UK will choose. The consequences are real and immediate. So, what does Bank of America expect? They predict the government will choose the responsible path, learning from past mistakes. A credible budget should calm markets, letting the pound rise steadily as confidence returns. This would also benefit UK government bonds, lowering borrowing costs and freeing up money for public services. But this positive outlook depends entirely on the government delivering a solid, believable plan. If the budget disappoints, chaos could return. Bank of America's message: cautious optimism, but only if responsibility wins out. The pound's recovery hinges on this moment. What does all this mean for you? Whether you're shopping for groceries, planning a holiday, or simply trying to make ends meet, the decisions made in this budget will touch every part of your daily life. A stronger pound keeps prices down, making imports and everyday goods more affordable. When the currency is healthy, your money stretches further, and you feel the difference at the checkout, whether you're buying food, clothes, or electronics. A stable budget creates a predictable environment for businesses and homeowners, supporting jobs and steady mortgage rates. This means companies can plan for the future, invest in new opportunities, and keep people employed. For homeowners, it can mean more manageable mortgage payments and less worry about sudden changes. If the budget is well received, it signals confidence in the UK economy. Good news for everyone. Investors are more likely to put money into the country, which can boost growth and create more jobs. Watch for key phrases: sticking to fiscal rules, growing fiscal headroom, and responsible spending. These are signs that the government is serious about keeping the economy on track. And look for credible plans behind any giveaways. Promises of tax cuts or new spending are only as good as the details that back them up. The market's reaction after the speech will reveal if investors believe the plan. A positive response can mean more stability, while doubts could lead to uncertainty or even a weaker pound. This budget is a test of the government's credibility and commitment to stability. It's about showing the world, and the people at home, that the UK can be trusted to manage its finances wisely. If the government passes, the pound could finally recover, bringing a calmer, more prosperous period. That means less worry about rising prices and more confidence in the future. The choices made now will shape your financial future. From your savings to your job security, the impact will be felt for months and even years to come. Pay attention. Today's decisions will affect your tomorrow. Staying informed helps you make better choices for yourself and your family. The stakes couldn't be higher. What happens now will set the tone for the UK's economic future, and for your own.